Hello, I'm Michael Pearce. I cover the US here at Capital Economics. It's Friday the 13th of May and this is the Week in Review. And what an unlucky week it's been for investors. While we learned that inflation fell back in the US in April, there was a nasty upward surprise in core inflation. As we flagged in a briefing for clients following the data, we think that raises the risks of an even more aggressive response from the Fed beyond just the next few meetings. We've seen inflation worries continue to grow in Europe as well. We highlighted that in a pair of notes we published on the Europe service this week, noting that we're now seeing clearer signs of an acceleration in wage growth, as well as a worrying rise in inflation expectations across the region. Our view that the ECB would be hiking rates as soon as July felt like a very bold call when we first made it a few months ago, but the consensus has quickly swung around to that position. In the UK, we learned this week that GDP fell by 0.1% in March, and we're now expecting an outright contraction in economic growth in the second quarter. Even so, we don't think that's going to stop the Bank of England, which is more focused on high and rising inflation, and we think is going to continue to raise rates in the months ahead. That combination of much weaker economic growth in developed markets and more hawkish central banks has been a big headwind for the financial markets. In a briefing this week, our markets team explained why our macro views are consistent with ongoing weakness in equities, higher bond yields, and a stronger dollar over the rest of this year. That mix is also fueling concerns about debt burdens in emerging economies. My colleagues on the emerging market team published a detailed note on that theme this week. They highlighted a handful of countries that they thought were at risk of increased risk of default, but they're not expecting a return of 1980s and 1990s style regional debt crises. They'll be answering your questions on that topic in a drop-in they're hosting next Tuesday, details of which you can find on our website. But that's all for today. Thanks for listening and have a great weekend. Goodbye.